Episode 1. I stayed in a hotel that wasn't supposed to exist. The police told me the hotel had been closed for almost 2 years. No staff, no guests, no power account under anyone's name, which would have been easy to accept if I hadn't slept there for 3 nights, if I hadn't been given a room key, if I hadn't spoken face to face with the man working the front desk, and if I hadn't seen him standing in my doorway, watching me leave. My name is Caleb. I don't visit my hometown unless I have to. It's the kind of place people leave and don't come back to unless something pulls them in. Family, guilt, obligation. For me, it was all 3. I'd come back just after New Year's to see my 2 older brothers and a couple friends I'd grown up with. Nothing special, just a few days. Enough to show my face, remind everyone I still existed, then leave again. The town hadn't changed. Same empty streets, same outdated storefronts, the same feeling that time had stopped moving forward and everyone just accepted it. There wasn't much to do there, and there weren't many places to stay. Usually I crash at one of my brother's places. But this time, both of them had moved in with their girlfriends, and I didn't feel like being the awkward extra body sleeping on a couch. There was only one hotel left in town. I wouldn't even call it a hotel, honestly. It was more like a long, 1-story building off the gravel highway, half hidden behind dead trees and tall weeds. No sign, no name, just a flickering light over the entrance. Locals always called it the hotel, like it didn't need anything else. I pulled into the parking lot late that night. It was almost empty. Just my car, and one old pickup truck parked near the side of the building. The place looked shut down, but the front door was unlocked, so I went in. The lobby was dim, not dark, just barely lit by a single lamp behind the front desk. Everything smelled old, dusty, like a place that hadn't been deep cleaned in years. I almost turned around. Then I heard a chair scrape. An older man stood up behind the counter. He looked like he'd been asleep, mid to late 60s maybe. Gray beard grown unevenly, hair long in some places, short in others, like he cut it himself with no mirror. He stared at me for a second longer than normal. Then he said, "Need a room?" His voice was low, scratchy, like he didn't use it much. "Yeah," I said. "Just a few nights." He nodded slowly, didn't ask for my ID, didn't ask for my name. Just reached under the desk and slid a key across the counter. A real key, not a card. "End of the hall," he said, "room 12. Something about that stuck with me. Like he already knew which room I was getting. He didn't walk me there, just watched as I went down the hallway alone. The carpet was old and thin. The lights flickered every few steps. My room was small, basic. A bed, a dresser, an old TV that looked like it hadn't been turned on in years. But the door locked. The shower worked. The bed was clean enough. And I told myself that was all that mattered. I showered, laid down, and fell asleep almost immediately. I woke up around 3:10 a.m., not from a dream, from a sound, a knock, not on my door. Somewhere down the hallway, slow, heavy, deliberate, knock, pause, knock, then silence. I laid there listening, heart thumping, trying to figure out what I was hearing. It didn't sound like someone knocking to get in. It sounded like someone testing doors, feeling for something. I almost got up to look, but didn't. I told myself it was the building settling, or maybe the old man making rounds. After a few minutes, the sound stopped, and eventually I fell back asleep. The next morning, I went to the lobby to grab coffee. There was none. No machine, no cups, no one at the desk. The lamp was off. The chair behind the counter was empty. I waited a minute, then called out. Nothing. I figured maybe the guy stepped out, so I left and spent the day with my brothers. When I told them where I was staying, they exchanged looks. The hotel? One of them asked. Yeah, I said. Why? He frowned. Man, I thought that place would shut down. My other brother nodded. Pretty sure it did. They weren't confident enough to make me panic, so I brushed it off. I went back that night around 9. The parking lot looked the same, empty, except for that same old truck. Inside, the lobby lights were off again, cold, too quiet. I walked down the hallway, unlocked my door, and changed clothes. That's when I heard it again. 2 knocks, right outside my room. I froze. They weren't loud. They weren't rushed, just there. I cracked the door open. The hallway was empty, but a door to the room next to mine, room 11, was slightly open. It hadn't been before. Before I could process that, a voice called out from down the hall. Come to the lobby. It was an old man. He didn't sound angry, didn't sound rushed, just firm. I stepped into the hallway. Why? I asked, but he was already walking away. I followed. When I reached the lobby, it was empty. No footsteps, no movement, no old man. I stood there longer than I should have. That uneasy feeling crawled up my spine, like I wasn't supposed to be there, like I was somewhere I wasn't invited. I went back to my room and locked the door. That night, I didn't hear anything else, but I barely slept. On the 3rd night, I stayed out late. Didn't want to be in that room. When I finally came back, something was wrong immediately. My door was cracked open. I hadn't left it that way. I didn't even go inside. I grabbed my suitcase, threw it in my car, and walked back toward the lobby. And that's when I looked down the hallway. The old man was standing in my doorway, just standing there, watching me. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stared. I ran. I didn't look back. I stayed with my brother that night. The next morning, we called the police. They searched the hotel, found nothing. No staff records, no power account, no cameras, no signs anyone had been living there. And the truck? Gone. The officer told me something I still can't shake. People pass through places like that, he said. Sometimes they don't realize they shouldn't be there. I left town that day, and I'll never go back, because I don't think that hotel was empty. I think it was waiting. If you checked into a hotel and later found out it wasn't supposed to exist, would you believe the man you met was real? Or would you wonder what else checks people in when no one's watching? If this story got under your skin, like, comment, and share it. And check the channel for episode 2. Episode 2. The footprints led to my cabin and never left. If someone had broken into the cabin, I could have dealt with that. If I had heard glass shatter, or a door slam, or footsteps upstairs, at least I would have known. But that's not what happened. What happened was worse, because the only warning I got was a line of footprints in fresh snow that walked straight up to the front door and then never walked away. Short pause. And the part that still makes my stomach twist is that I was inside that cabin for hours after that, making coffee, scrolling on my phone, sitting by the fire, thinking I was alone, while someone else was somewhere in the house, waiting for me to fall asleep. My name's Evan. I'm not one of those guys who goes looking for trouble. I don't chase scary places. I don't mess with abandoned buildings. I don't do any of that. I'm the type that locks my car twice and checks the stove before leaving. So when I tell you this happened, I'm not telling you to sound brave. I'm telling you because I still don't know how I got out of that cabin alive. It was right after New Year's. My parents owned a small cabin in the mountains. Nothing fancy. One floor, creaky wooden steps, a stone fireplace, and a porch that looked out into trees so thick it felt like the world ended right there. We'd used it for years, family weekends, quiet holidays, a place where the phone barely worked and nobody bothered you. This time the plan was simple. We were supposed to meet there for a short break. My parents, my younger sister, and me. But I got there first. I took a couple of extra days off work and I drove up alone. I told myself it would be good for me. No noise, no stress, just sleep, hot food, and silence. That was the plan. The kind of plan you make when you're tired enough to believe silence is the same thing as peace. I arrived late in the afternoon. The sky was already turning that dull winter gray, and there was a fresh layer of snow on the ground. Thin, clean, untouched. No tire marks, no footprints, no signs anyone had been up there since the last time we left. I remember sitting in my car for a minute, engine still running, staring at the cabin. It looked normal. Still, something felt off. Not in a supernatural way. More like the way a house looks when it's been holding its breath. I shook it off. I carried my bag inside, turned on the lights, and the cabin greeted me the way it always did. Old wood smell, cold air, and that quiet feeling that feels thick. I checked the rooms like I always did. Kitchen, fine. Living room, fine. Bathroom, fine. Bedrooms, fine. Closets, also fine. Everything was normal. So I unpacked a little, started a fire, ate something quick, and went to bed early. That first night, nothing happened. And honestly, that made me drop my guard. Because when nothing happens, you start believing nothing can happen. The next morning, I woke up to that mountain quiet. No cars, no voices, no neighbors, just wind. I made coffee, stood by the front window, and watched snow drift off the branches. I was wearing sweatpants, half awake, and feeling weirdly proud of myself for being out there alone. Like, look at me. Independent, responsible, healing. Then I decided to take a walk. There was a small trail near the cabin. It looped through the woods and came back around. We'd walked it 100 times as a family. I figured I'd do the loop, clear my head, come back, make breakfast. I didn't lock the door. I know how that sounds now. But back then it felt stupid to lock a cabin door in the middle of nowhere when you're going to be gone 20 minutes and you're the only person for miles. So I left it. I grabbed my coffee, pulled on boots, and stepped out onto the snow. The air stung my nose, the kind of cold that makes you feel awake whether you want to or not. The trail started behind the cabin and dipped into the trees. At first it felt peaceful. Then, maybe 10 minutes in, I saw something that made me stop. Marks in the snow. At first I thought deer, but when I got closer, I knew what it was. Footprints, boot prints, not mine. Not old either. They were sharp, clean edges, like they'd been made recently. I stared at them for a long time. Then I looked around. All I saw were trees. And the weird part? The prints weren't coming from the cabin. They were coming from deeper in the woods and following the trail toward it. That's when the peaceful feeling left my body. I told myself it was a hiker or a hunter. Someone who got turned around and stumbled near our property line. Still, My skin felt tight. I kept walking for another minute, following the prints without meaning to. They stayed on the trail, like whoever made them knew where they were going. Then I stopped again, because I realized something simple. If those prints were fresh, then whoever made them was out here recently, maybe still out here. And I didn't like how quiet it was, so I turned around. I didn't finish the loop, I went straight back. And I kept my eyes forward, trying not to imagine somebody standing behind a tree, watching me return to my cabin. When I finally saw the cabin through the trees, I felt relief, but it lasted about 1 second, because as I got closer, I saw more footprints, not just on the trail, in the open snow right in front of the porch, and they weren't there when I left. They went straight up to the steps, up to the front door, and then nothing. No trail leading away, no prints going back. It was like the person walked up to the cabin and disappeared. My first thought was, that's impossible. My second thought was worse. They went inside. I felt my mouth go dry. I stood there for a long time, just staring at the door. The cabin looked the same as it always did. The windows didn't show movement, no shadow, no sound. But I couldn't ignore it. I walked up slowly, trying to keep my breathing quiet. My hand hovered over the doorknob. Then I pushed the door open. It moved easily, because I hadn't locked it. The cabin air hit me, warm from the fire, stale from the night. Everything looked normal. The living room was empty. The kitchen is empty. No footsteps upstairs. No creak of wood. No cough. No shifting. But I still didn't walk in right away. I stood in the doorway like an idiot, staring. Then I did something I didn't even realize I was doing. I listened, not for noise, for life. And I swear to you, I felt it. That feeling that something is in your space. Not a ghost, not some movie monster, just the heavy sense of another human being somewhere nearby. I stepped inside fast, locked the door, and slid the deadbolt. Then I went through the cabin again. Kitchen, bathroom, living room, bedrooms, closets, under beds, behind the shower curtain. Everything, nothing, nobody, which should have made me relax. But it didn't, because the footprints didn't lie. Someone had come to my door, and the snow showed no prints leaving. I called my mom. She picked up with that cheerful voice people use when they're warm and safe. I tried to sound normal. Hey, quick question. Have you or Dad been up to the cabin recently? She laughed. No, honey. We haven't been there in months. Okay. Did you give anyone else a key? No. Why? I stared at the front door while I spoke. There are footprints, like someone walked up to the cabin, fresh ones. Her voice changed immediately, not panic, but that serious mom tone. Are you sure they're not yours? Not mine. A pause, then, Evan, lock the doors, and if you feel weird, leave. I wanted to tell her I already felt weird, but I didn't want to sound stupid, like I was scared of footprints, so I said, yeah, I will. It's probably nothing. She didn't agree. She just said, call me back in an hour. The next part is the part that makes me angry at myself, because I stayed. I don't know why. Maybe pride, maybe denial. Maybe I didn't want to believe the obvious answer. I kept thinking, if someone went inside, I would have found them. I spent the rest of the morning trying to calm down. I checked the windows, checked the locks again. I moved a chair under the back door handle like that would save me. Then I tried to distract myself. I made eggs. I turned on the TV, but there was no signal, just static. So I shut it off. The cabin became quiet again. And that quiet started to feel staged, like the house was pretending to be empty. Around noon, I heard something small, a sound that was so normal I almost ignored it. A soft creak, not a loud one, not like a step, more like wood settling, except the cabin had been settling all morning, and it didn't sound like that. It sounded like weight, like a slow shift. I froze in the kitchen, coffee mug in hand. I didn't move. I didn't even blink. I listened again. Nothing. Silence. I told myself it was the house, the heat, the cold outside. But my body didn't believe my excuses. My body did that thing where it prepared without asking you. Heart rate up, hands cold, breathing shallow. I walked into the hallway. The bedrooms were down there. A narrow hall, dim even with the lights on. 3 doors. My room at the end. My parents' room on the left. A storage closet on the right. I stared at the storage closet. We kept old blankets in there. Board games, a folded cot. Nothing scary, but I couldn't stop looking at it because the closet door wasn't fully closed. It was open just a crack, and I couldn't remember if I left it like that. I walked closer. My steps were slow, like I was trying not to scare something. I reached out, grabbed the knob, and pulled the closet door open. Blankets, games, old coats, nothing. But as I stood there staring, I noticed something that made my stomach sink. The blankets weren't stacked the way they normally were. It looked like someone had moved them. Not a lot, just enough to make a small gap behind them, like a space where someone could fit. I stood there staring at that dark gap. Then I did the stupidest thing possible. I leaned in, and I swear, I smelled something. Not rot, not blood, nothing dramatic, just a human smell. Sweat, old clothes, like someone who'd been outside in winter and didn't shower. I backed up fast and shut the closet door hard. My hand was shaking. I walked back to the living room and sat down by the fire, and I stayed there for hours because something deep in me had already decided. If I go down that hallway again, I'm going to find what I don't want to find. So I sat there in the living room where I could see the front door and the hallway entrance at the same time. I kept my keys in my pocket, phone in my hand, and I waited for my parents to arrive the next day. Every so often, I'd hear another little creak or a faint tap or the smallest rustle. Every time my eyes snapped to the hallway, every time nothing happened, and that was worse. Because nothing happening felt like someone was being careful. By evening, it was dark outside. The firelight made shadows dance on the walls. I hadn't eaten since breakfast. I was hungry, but I didn't want to go back into the kitchen and turn my back to the hallway. That's when I thought of something that made my skin crawl. The footprints. I never checked where they came from, and I never checked where they went. I only saw that they went up to the door and didn't leave, but I hadn't checked the sides of the cabin. The back. Maybe the person walked away somewhere I didn't see. Maybe I was spiraling for nothing. I needed to know. So I grabbed the fireplace poker because I didn't have anything else, walked to the front door and unlocked it. Cold air rushed in as I opened it. The snow outside reflected a little moonlight. I stepped out onto the porch, and I looked down. The footprints were still there, frozen in place now. Clear as day, I followed them with my eyes, straight to the door, and I looked for prints leading away. I scanned left. Nothing. Right. Nothing. I stepped down into the snow, circling slowly. No exit prints, no turn, no trail. They ended at my door. I stood there breathing hard, staring at the snow like it was lying. Then a thought hit me so hard I actually felt dizzy. If they didn't walk away, then they walked in. And if they walked in, then they stayed. I turned slowly toward the open front door. The cabin interior glowed orange from the fire, and that glow suddenly felt wrong, like it was lighting up a stage, like I'd been the only actor performing, while someone else waited behind the curtain. Then I heard it, a sound inside, a soft, slow creak, coming from the hallway. Not the house settling, not wind, a step. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I stared into the cabin, and in that warm firelight, I saw my bedroom door at the end of the hall. It was open. It hadn't been open, and something shifted in the darkness behind it. A shape, a person. My mind tried to deny it, but my body knew immediately. Someone was inside my cabin, and they had been inside for hours. Then the person stepped out into the hallway. A man, not tall, not huge, but thin, wrapped in a dark jacket, hood up. I couldn't see his face clearly, but I could see the way he moved, slow, controlled, like he wasn't surprised to be seen, like he was deciding what to do next. For half a second, he just stared at me, and in that half second, I realized something that turned my fear into pure panic. He wasn't trying to escape. He was between me and the rest of the cabin, between me and my keys if I ran back inside, between me and the phone charger, between me and everything. Then he moved. He didn't run right away. He walked 1 step, 2 steps, toward the living room, toward me, and then he sprinted, not stumbling, not frantic, fast, straight at me. I didn't think so. I just reacted. I dropped the poker and ran. I bolted off the porch so hard I almost slipped. Snow flew behind me. I hit my car, yanked the door open, and threw myself in. My hands were shaking so badly I fumbled the keys. I dropped them once. Then I heard the porch boards creak behind me. I looked up, and I saw him in the doorway, standing there, not chasing, just watching. Like he'd already learned everything he needed about me, like he was memorizing my face. I finally got the key in and started the engine. As I pulled out, my headlights swept across the porch and the trees, and I saw something that still makes my throat tighten when I think about it. More footprints. Not just 1 set, 2, maybe 3, trailing along the side of the cabin, half covered, like they'd been there for a while, like someone had been circling the place, waiting. I didn't stop to count. I didn't stop to look again. I drove. I drove until the cabin lights vanished behind the trees, until the road felt familiar. Until I reached the nearest town with gas station lights and people. Only then did I pull into a parking lot and lock my doors. And only then did I realize my whole body was shaking. I called the police. They met me at the station. 2 officers, calm faces. They drove up to the cabin with me trailing behind. The whole time I kept thinking, please let him be gone. Please let this be over. When we got there, the cabin looked normal again. Quiet, still. The footprints near the porch were blurred by wind now, but the officers went inside and searched. Room by room, closets, under beds, everywhere. They found nothing. No man, no weapon, no broken window, no forced entry. Just a few things that were enough to prove I wasn't crazy. 1, the storage closet blankets had been moved. 2, the window latch in my bedroom was undone. And 3, inside that same closet, pressed down behind the blankets, was an empty plastic water bottle. Not ours, not old. Still slightly crumpled, like it had been held recently. One of the officers looked at it, then looked at me, and his face changed, because now he believed me. They said it was possible the guy had been living out in the woods, that he'd used the cabin before, that he might have slipped in while I was gone on my walk, and that he might have planned to wait until I fell asleep. Simple as that. Pause. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't sleep the next night either. My parents and sister didn't come up after I told them what happened. We didn't go back for months, and when we finally did, we replaced the locks, put up cameras, added motion lights, did everything people do when they want to feel safe again. But the truth is, I still think about one part more than anything. Not the sprint, not the closet, not even his face in the hallway. I keep thinking about the hours I spent in that cabin, making coffee, sitting by the fire, telling myself I was overreacting, while a stranger was somewhere down that hallway, breathing, listening, waiting. Because if I hadn't checked the footprints, if I hadn't opened that door, I don't think I would have made it out. Slow. So if you ever see fresh footprints in snow, and they don't leave, don't investigate, don't be brave, don't check the rooms, just get out. Because whatever walked up to your door might already be inside. If you were me, would you have stayed inside all day like I did? Or would you have left the second you saw those footprints? And be honest, what do you think he was planning to do once I fell asleep? If you enjoyed this story, comment, and share it with someone who watches horror at night. And don't forget to check the channel for the next episode. Episode 3, My Car Died on a Road People Don't Come Back From. The sheriff told me something that made my stomach drop. He said, if that truck hadn't stopped when it did, we wouldn't have been looking for you. Then he showed me where my car was found. It wasn't on the roadside anymore. It had been pushed deep into the trees, parked carefully, like someone planned to come back for it. My name is Ryan. I was driving alone through Northern Oregon when this happened. Not on a highway, not near a city, just one of those long, empty back roads that cut through miles of forest with nothing around for as far as you can see. I had taken time off work to clear my head. No schedule, no rush. Just driving, stopping when I felt like it, sleeping wherever I ended up. It was late evening when I realized I'd messed up. My gas light was on. I checked my phone and searched for the nearest station, 45 minutes away. Not great, but not impossible. I told myself I'd make it. I always did. For a while, the drive was normal. Music low, windows cracked. Fog started creeping in, thick enough that my headlights barely cut through it. Then my GPS froze. The screen still said 35 minutes. It didn't change, no matter how long I drove. I tried resetting it. That's when the car sputtered. Once, then again, then died completely. The engine wouldn't turn over. No service, no signal at all. I sat there gripping the steering wheel, staring at the road ahead. The forest on both sides looked endless, dense, black. I had two choices: sit in my car and hope someone passes by, or start walking. I grabbed a flashlight, locked the car, and started down the road. The fog swallowed everything behind me. After a few minutes, I heard something, a branch snapping. I stopped. The sound stopped too. I told myself it was an animal, but it happened again, closer, then silence. I kept walking, faster now. About 10 minutes in, my flashlight hit something off the road. A car, old, rusting, half buried in the trees. The driver's door was open. It didn't look like it crashed. It looked placed, like someone drove it there slowly and walked away. I felt sick. Then I heard movement again. This time there were multiple sounds: footsteps, running, Not on the road, in the forest, keeping pace with me. I didn't run. Something told me not to. I walked faster, pretending I hadn't noticed. My heart felt like it was punching my ribs from the inside. The footsteps followed, sometimes closer, sometimes farther, but always there. I never shined my flashlight into the trees. I was terrified of what I'd see. Then suddenly everything stopped. No footsteps, no sound. And that's when headlights appeared behind me. A pickup truck pulled over. The driver rolled down the window. "Are you stranded?" he asked. His voice sounded normal. "Humans. Safe." I didn't hesitate. I got in. The man's name was Mark. Gray beard, tired eyes. He said he drove that road often and never picked up hitchhikers, but something told him to stop. As we drove, I noticed something. The forest felt wrong. Too quiet. Mark broke the silence. "You weren't walking toward the station," he said. I looked at him. "The nearest one is over an hour that way." My blood went cold. He dropped me off at the gas station and told me to call the police. I did, and thank God I did. The deputy drove me back to my car, or what should have been my car. Instead, we found tire tracks leading off the road, into the trees. My car was parked beside the abandoned one, hidden, just like it. The deputy went quiet. That's when I told him everything. The footsteps, the people in the woods, the truck. He didn't interrupt. When I finished, he said something I'll never forget. "You weren't the first person to break down here. They never found anyone. No suspects, no camps, no explanation. The sheriff said those roads swallow people. Cars break down, phones lose signal, and sometimes no one finds them in time. If that truck hadn't stopped, my car would have been just another one in the woods, waiting." Do you think the truck stopped by chance? Or do you think something else made sure it did? If I hadn't gotten that ride, do you think I would have disappeared like the others? If this story got to you, like, comment, and share, and check the channel for the rest of the series.